Are we overhyping Colorado? I think it's tough to say that with a team that's been so bad for so long, where we're already seeing Heisman hype for their new starting quarterback, and we're seeing them in way too early top 25s. I think that that's something that's an overreaction. There is stuff to like about what Deion Sanders is going to do, and we're going to take a look at do they deserve the hype right now, or is it more towards the future? So I think one thing that Dion has done really well in terms of bringing in talent is he's gotten some of his guys from Jackson State, but he also does a great job of enticing transfers and recruits for that matter to come to their program. You look at what Colorado has done over the last few years, it's nothing compared to what Dion has already done. The 29th best recruiting class in 2023, 21st when you include transfers. That's not something that you can take lightly. Now, it's a little bit different, and we'll talk about what makes it a little bit different in a little bit, but we'll talk about the good things first. And you look at some of the transfers that they've gotten, and some of these guys are going to be instant starters. You look at Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter. We'll start with them. Two guys who, honestly, when you look at it, going to Jackson State wasn't exactly a guarantee that they were going to be good or that they were going to play. Now, they're 4 and 5 star guys, so it's pretty safe to assume that they were going to play. But these are two guys that, if you look at it, honestly, I tip my hat to them because they take challenges. Now, both of them could have probably gone anywhere they wanted in the transfer portal. They did not have to follow Dion to Colorado. They decided that they wanted to build a program. You don't really see that nowadays. Kids always want to go to the top programs. They want to go to the Alabamas. They want to go to the Georgias. They're going to go to those programs. And you don't see a ton of guys that take a challenge like this to be able to build a program, have a program built around them. I don't think you see that very often. You maybe see one or two guys, but it's just here and there. It's not very frequently. So when you do see guys like this go there, that is something that really stands out to me. So Travis Hunter, who's potentially one of the best players in the Pac-12 already, and Shadur Sanders, who still has to win the job, but I think everybody just assumes that he's going to be the starter. Now, the hype surrounding his Heisman hopes is a little ridiculous because I don't think Colorado is going to be very good this year still. They might be better. It's not going to be really hard to beat, but they might be better than they were last year. They just aren't going to be that good. They're not going to be good enough for him to be in the Heisman conversation, let alone first. That's a little bit of a stretch. Then when you look at some of the other guys, I think there's some underrated players. Jimmy Horn was one of the best transfer portal grabs by Deion Sanders. Miles Slusher is going to be a starter as well. I think there's a good handful of guys that are going to start right away, and that's an infusion of talent that Colorado desperately needs and something that you really can commend Deion Sanders for doing. When you look at the recruits too, I think we talked about Travis Hunter going to Jackson State was huge, but then you get another one in Cormani McLean. Those two could be the best duo in the Pac-12 when it's all said and done. I think that they're very good, and I think that Deion's track record of getting guys to play well really speaks for itself. It's a reason why he went 27-6 at Jackson State, and now he takes on a new challenge, and that's where some of these concerns come in. Let's start with the first one. I don't think anybody's really talking about this. I think that one thing that you need to consider is when Deion was getting these 4 and 5 star kids to come to Jackson State, nobody else in that conference or in that league was getting those guys. Nobody else was getting a 4 and 5 star kid, let alone more than one, even if they did. That's very different in the Pac 12. You don't get that talent advantage in the Pac 12. And that's going to be a challenge that Deion has to overcome. I'm not saying that he can't, but everybody just assuming that it's going to be the same thing. It's not. It's far from it, actually. This is a conference that is getting very good again. I think it's one of the more talented conferences in college football. I think that it's going to be a very deep conference this year, and that's going to be hard to challenge. That's going to be hard to compete with. When you look at the teams, and we'll do recruiting and then include the transfers. You look at recruiting, Oregon was sitting at 8th, USC is at 12th, which is better than, well, even Utah at 21st, better than Colorado. Then the teams behind them, Washington one spot behind them at 30, UCLA 37, Stanford 45, Arizona State, and Oregon State after that. This is a conference that you're not just getting better talent. In fact, there are teams that are better than you, and there are other teams that have just as good talent as you do. And then when you add in the transfers, they're still not first, they're third. Now that's pretty impressive for Colorado, but USC sits at 8th, Oregon is at 9th, and then you have UCLA, Utah, Washington, Arizona State, all within a reaching distance of Colorado. So I think that you're competing in a different league. It's not just about getting talent, it's about getting that talent to compete and getting that talent to develop and play well. That's a different challenge that I don't think many people are talking about. We just assume Dion is going to do that. And the difference, like a big reason why he went 27-6 is because the talent level that he had was so much better than the guys they were playing. And that's very helpful when it comes down to certain plays and certain things. Now you're facing a conference that does the exact same thing. A lot of teams are going to have 4 and 5 star guys. You're not going to have the best team on the field. How are you going to be able to compete when everybody else is doing the exact same thing that you are, if not better? Now, the other thing you have to look at, Colorado was so bad for so long. And even when they were good, this was still a program that is maybe average at best. Last year was atrocious. So there's big concerns when you look at what this team is doing. The offense was atrocious, the defense was atrocious. And this isn't just a 1 year thing either. And like I said, at best, they were average. So you're taking a program that has been average at best for the last at least 5 years for a long time. And now you're looking at someone who has a lot of work to do. So 1 year of bringing in transfers and a good recruiting class doesn't fix all of the holes and all of the issues that you have. Now you can do all these pep talks and do all these different things, and that's good for a foundation to start with. The short term, it's going to be a good thing, and in the end, it'll probably be good long term as well. But on the field, it's not going to solve most of the issues. Colorado is most likely going to be a bad football team again this year. Maybe they'll be 6-6 and make a bowl game. But there are a lot of things that they need to fix. 25 transfers and a solid recruiting class don't just erase all that stuff. You're looking at freshmen that have to take reps that they've never taken before and in the Pac-12. So I think that the hype surrounding Deion's program is a little bit unjustified. I think that that's just looking for clicks. You're looking for attention, and you're not really analyzing what's actually going on. Maybe long term they end up being that team, but in 2023 they're just simply not going to be that program. When you look at the talent that's in the Pac-12, that should tell you what Colorado can do. Now, can they be in the middle of the pack? Sure, they could probably be up there. You look at what Deion has done at Jackson State, you look at his reputation. I think that there's a lot to go on there, but it's not going to all of a sudden be this top 25 football program that is sending Dion Sanders to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. That's just ridiculous. And I think most people see that and most people understand that. But I think that we do this every year. We see a new face, a very talented face come into a new program, and we just expect him to succeed right away. But I think what we do is we raise expectations too high, or we even just put them on a pedestal that they're never going to reach. So that's something that I wish we didn't do as much, but it's just something that is inevitable. I think that Deion, again, is going to have a solid tenure at Colorado. It's just going to take a while. I think that the expectations that they'll be really good right away is just a little bit too much. And it's going to be fun, but it's going to take some time. And the excitement should be there. I think that Colorado just definitely deserves to have a program that is good. I think that fan base is very supportive of this program. It just may take a little bit longer time than a lot of people are assuming it will.